Hey, welcome back to Mac Video Magic Live, the stream where we talk about all things video editing on a Mac, whether you're using iMovie, Final Cut Pro, or DaVinci Resolve Studio. This is the place to share tips, workflows, and tricks to make your videos look amazing. Now, this is an open format stream, so bring your questions, bring your ideas, or, hey, even your problems that you've been running into. We'll try and work through them together if we have time. And if you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss future live sessions or live streams like this. So welcome. And if you know me, I'm Michael Kinney, Mac Video Magic. And we do these streams, we try to do them once a week. I missed last week because I had some issues and things. But I'm here now. And in this stream, usually it's sort of an open format, but I have a few topics I'd like to talk about. If people don't have many questions, I can definitely talk about a few things. But first, before we get into things, let me just bring over my comments here and say hello to a few folks. Well, and look at that. It's all over the place. Let me just rearrange this. Bring this over like so. And there we go. Hey, from Portsmouth, UK, DJ M. Hallett, thanks for being here. So bring this down just a little bit more. Hope things are well over there across the pond. I'm just rearranging my interface here. Don't know why it kind of went all over the place. Here in Ecamm Live, things aren't moving as they're supposed to. Live video. So there's a couple of things I want to talk about, or a few things I want to talk about in this stream. The first thing I want to talk about. Oh. Sorry, it's Deb. Hi, Deb. Thanks for clarifying there. All right. Everything's running, everything's rolling. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about in this stream is actually a viewer question that came after my last video that I released, I guess it was Monday, about Keynote. Basically video editing in Keynote, which you can kind of do. I mean, it's not like traditional editing you'd find in something like iMovie or Final Cut Pro, but you can edit videos in Keynote. And so I got a question, and here it is, from Colleen. Hopefully Colleen's here, or she's going to arrive. But anyway, we'll go ahead. Can you use just bits of videos without any slides, or do you have to have at least 1 to 2 slides for it to work? Thanks so much for sharing this information with us. Definitely a great game changer. So if you didn't see that video about editing in Keynote. Basically, the gist of it is using different slides for your different elements, whether it's images or videos or what have you. And each video or image is on a different slide. And then you basically, to edit, you transition automatically from one slide to the next. So in my example, I use 6 slides, and I just showed you how you can transition automatically from one slide to the next, which simulates editing, right? You're switching from one shot to another shot. So the question was, Colleen's question was, do you need to have multiple slides to do that? Do you need any slides or can you do without slides? Well, you need at least one slide to do that. And I have a demo here that I'm just going to show you and how to do video editing with just one slide in Keynote. So I'm just going to show you that demo here. So let me just switch over to here. And here we are. And so here is a Keynote demo project here. And I actually have 3 videos on one slide. And you can't tell, the first slide of the first video is sitting on top, but there are actually 3 videos. And here's a little tip. If you get into a situation in Keynote where you have a bunch of elements on a slide and you don't know, they're hidden or you don't know how to select them, a little trick is to go up here to the View menu and select. You can see here it says Hide Object List. Right now the object list is this here, and it's showing. But if I click on that, you see it goes away. I'll go back, Show Object List, and there are my objects. So that's a handy little trick if you ever get a bunch of stuff and you can't select it because it's, things are covering each other. So I have 3 videos here. So here's the first video you see. There's a video underneath that and a video underneath that. Now, if you actually want to see the videos with this first video selected, if I go over to the right and select Format here and Style, and I go down to Opacity and I drag that down, you'll see the video that's underneath it. Likewise, you can do the same thing. I could do the same thing with this video. But basically, let me show you. I'm just going to play this, and you can see how I edited these 3 video clips together using build-in and build-out animations in Keynote. I'll explain that in a second after I just play this. I'm just going to play this back here. Drawing information from declassified military files, interviews, and new research, Stiles unmasks a case long shrouded in secrecy and a lot of confusion, and raises new questions about what really happened. There's the next video, and then there's the next video. And that'll play out. Okay, get out of that. So you saw that. That was basically 3 video clips back to back, which basically simulated editing. So what I'm going to do is going to show you how I built that. It's very simple. It's a little cumbersome, but it's fairly simple. So basically what you do is you use build-in and build-out animations in Keynote. So let me just look at this first video here. And if I go over to Animate, and I'm going to go down to this Build Order panel here. And you can see here's the Build Order panel. And let me just, you can see all the different videos. So this video is this video here, but it's building in. So it's just starting. So when it starts automatically, if we go down here, you can see it says after, let me see here if I can just zoom in here. You can see it says after transition. Actually, I'm in the way. So let me move myself out of the way here. Boop, 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 boop. There. Just so you can see that, go back to the build order. Let me drag this out over here. Okay, so at the bottom you can see after transition. So what that means is when this slideshow starts, right after it starts, this video here, this first video is going to play. So after it plays, I have it, you can see here it says build out. You can see just sort of there. So basically after this video plays, the build out is disappear, which means it's just going to disappear. It's going to pop off. And then the next video is going to play after build 2, which is this first video popping off or disappearing. And then after this video plays, it's going to build out and it's going to disappear as well, and so on for the third one. If you can, hopefully you can follow that. Now, the key for all this to work, though, is down here. Let me go to this first video. So the first video here plays here, and after it finishes, it disappears. However, to make this work, if you look down here, after build 1, but the delay, 15.28 seconds. So 15.28 seconds is the duration of this video. So that's how you make this work automatically. Like, you could advance these things by clicking, like, clicking your mouse or the forward arrow key, but that, that requires manual timing and stuff. This way, it's all automatic. You don't have to do anything. You can export it and all the videos are edited together. So likewise, for this second video, it comes on automatically after build 2, but then it disappears after it's finished playing, which is after it comes on, which is build 3, but there's the delay, 5.12 seconds, and that is the duration of that video, and so on. So that's essentially how you can edit in Keynote by using build in and build out. And notice, again, this is all just on one slide. So all of these videos are on one slide. So I could have, I don't know, 20 videos, 30 videos, all on this one slide, and use the build in and build out method with the delays to cut from one video to the next. And you can use any transition. You don't have to disappear. You could do a crossfade. You could do anything, any of the effects. If I go over here, any of these effects, build out effects, you can use here. I'm in the way again. Let me grab myself here. Put myself down in the corner. Go back over here. So any of these effects here you can use to transition out of the clips. So that's it. That's basically how you can edit on one slide in Keynote. Hopefully that made sense. Any questions? Let me know. But I got that question and I thought, actually, yes, I think you can do just with one slide and make it work. It's like I said, it's a little cumbersome with all the different, you have to go through and get all the timings of your videos and make note of it in order for that method to work. Just like the method I showed in the video that I released on editing in Keynote. So yeah, that's how you can do that. Cool. Hopefully that made sense, Deb. I can see you. You're in the chat. All right. The next thing I want to talk about is, let me see here. Let me go over here. Last week, or not last week, 2 weeks ago, I was talking about creating YouTube thumbnails in Keynote, and that's what I use. Well, exclusively, pretty much, to make my thumbnails. I do use another piece of software sometimes if I need some help removing the backgrounds for my thumbnail images. But I do it all in Keynote. And a lot of people use Canva, which is great. I've used it before. It works great. It's got actually more capabilities, I guess, depending on if you have a paid plan versus the free. You have more, you can do things like extract backgrounds and stuff like that. I don't know I can't recall if you can do that in the free version. I don't think so. But it's got great templates, Canva does, and it works great. But I just use Keynote for a couple reasons. It's on my computer, so it's not in the cloud, so I don't need an internet connection to create my thumbnails. And the big thing is I reuse a lot of the assets, images and things in my thumbnails from one thumbnail to another. And so it's great to have everything there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you behind the scenes of, I'm going to show you behind the scenes of my, pardon me, I'm going to show you behind the scenes of my, my thumbnail file, my Keynote thumbnail file that I use for my YouTube videos. So I'll just switch on over. And here it is. Ooh, it's the secret. So actually this thumbnail is for the one I use for this live stream here. And if I just zoom up a little bit to fit here, fit the slide, and you can see there it is. And you can see on the left here are all, so this particular thumbnail is slide 49. There's a lot of slides here. But you can see all these different slides, which are thumbnails and experiments as well, and other various graphics. You can see sort of my older thumbnail style here, and then the newer style as I go down the list here. And so the great thing about what I like about this is I have all my thumbnails in one file. I can reference them, and in order to be consistent with what I'm doing, but I can also copy and paste elements, you know? So for example, if I like this thumbnail pose here, I can just right click, copy, and paste it to a new slide or another slide. Likewise, if I like, for example, this, I say, hey, I like this pose, I can copy it to a new slide to create a new background. And all of these elements here, you know, they're just slide elements, just images arranged on the slide. And I've got a background back here, just sort of my branded background. And then all these are just images that I cut out. Now, this is also text. And what I like about Keynote is the text, you can create a shape. For example, this live button up here is a shape, but you can actually put text in it. So I don't, like, this is one element. It's not a background and the text. So that's what I like about Keynote too. It's all together as one unit. And I like the ability to see different things and to experiment and copy and paste and duplicate and try different layouts. You can see here, you know, there's all these different layouts. You know, I can try different titles. Like for example, here's a thumbnail from a couple weeks ago. And so I was playing with that, and, you know, I wanted to try an alternate title. So I just, you know, this is just text that I can edit, and the shape goes with it. So I just find it's an easy way for me. Now I'm going to do a more in-depth tutorial on this, on like step-by-step on how to do it, including removing the backgrounds from images. But let me just show you real quick the software that I use. So this is Pixelmator Pro, great software. It's not free, it costs, but it's a one-time payment. It's not a subscription. And I use it sometimes to extract the backgrounds. You can extract backgrounds in Keynote, but it can get a little tricky depending on the background you're in. If you take a picture or your image of you like this is on a plain sort of consistent background, Keynote will be able to pretty much remove the background pretty well. But if you look at, I'll show you what my background looked like. So this is the background, and I had to remove myself. Keynote did an okay job, but I would have to go in and sort of fine tune it, and it just took a long time. But with Pixelmator Pro, I was able to just do it using the tools in here. So it's a great software. It's kind of like, you know, Photoshop, or what's the other one? GIMP, I think, is the free open source version, kind of a Photoshop. But I've been using Pixelmator Pro for a few years, and Apple just, not recently, but I think last year they purchased the company. So yeah, that's what I use for that, to extract the backgrounds. And then, yeah, I just copy paste it onto the slide. And I just find it's easy for me just to sort of brainstorm and just play with arrangements. Now you can do that in Canva too, but I don't know. I know I'm just familiar with Keynote, and I just like Keynote's tools, and it's very smooth. And yeah, so this is what I use to make my thumbnails. And like I said, I'll be doing a more in-depth step-by-step tutorial on how to do it. And you can see here in the object list all the different all the different objects on this slide. And I hide things too. Like sometimes, like for example, there's a hidden element here. And that's the other great thing is I hide things. If it's not working, let me hide this, or you can drag it off the slide and just play around with things. I just like the flexibility of it. So yeah, that's what I use. Some people are like, really? It works for me. And there's basic also, let me just show you. There's basic, if I select this image here, there are basic image adjustments you can do over here on the right. So if I click on this, you get this window. And so I can do I can do level adjustments. You can see exposures up on this. I can do contrast, saturation, all these other different things. I can even tint it, do something with the color temperature. Sharpness, I can sharpen it a bit. If I, do this, you can see it gets a little sharper there. A little too sharp though. But anyway, there's some basic adjustments that you can do here in Keynote with images. And I find it's plenty. It's plenty. Yeah. You can also do, masking. Here's the remove background over here. Remove background, and you can edit mask, so you can mask things as well. But it's just a mask shape. You can't do like custom masking, like laying down points. Maybe someday. At least I don't think you can. Maybe someday. But anyway, those are the capabilities that work for me. And I find with thumbnails, the simpler the better. Because when you want it to sort of read fairly quickly. And one other thing I do when I'm building my thumbnails here in Keynote is I always go to the zoom up here, and I'll set it to 25%, which is the lowest. Because that's how people are going to see it in the YouTube, homepage and elsewhere. So that's what I do. So I'll go back and forth between fit to slide and zooming it back to 25% to see if things read, particularly, with text, right? To see if it reads okay. Yeah, that's the secret. Not much of a secret, really. It's just, I try to simplify the workflow, right? Not to have so many tools and having to jump between all these different tools. And yeah, it just works well. It works well. Let's see. We got some folks in the chat. Jack says, great program. Yes, I think you're talking about Pixelmator Pro or Keynote. Both are great programs, but Pixelmator Pro is really good. I like it. It's really easy to use. And if I go back to it, the interface is very clean, simple. You got your layers over here. You have your controls over here. It comes with built-in filters too, which are very cool for doing looks and different types of, effects on your images. You can even edit video, believe it or not. You can actually edit video here in Pixelmator Pro as well. I did that on one project way back when, where I wanted to do, what was I doing? Oh yeah, I was doing I was doing a video where I had a background of clouds, like a sky background, and the clouds were moving, but I had an image, a still image was the sort of the focus point. So I married those here together in Pixelmator Pro and had the video as the background and then the image on top, and then I exported it as a video. So you can do video work here in Pixelmator Pro as well, which is very cool. Very cool. one of my tools. Let's see. Pixel also has super resolution for images too. Yes, you can. So what that means is you can, zoom up your images. And typically when you zoom up an image, right, say, you have this image and you zoom it up, you're going to lose quality because you're magnifying pixels. But Pixelmator Pro, you can zoom up images and its built-in AI will actually fill in the pixels. And that's what it's called, the super resolution. So it'll upscale the image for you. And it works really well. It looks really good. I've used that many times. Many times. I think I need to up my thumbnail designs. YouTube keeps telling me how important they are. Yeah, it's funny. It's kind of like YouTube trends with thumbnails. I think I'm still in the old. I think I'm still in the trend from a few years ago, with the white outline around my images. Just go back again with the white outline, because I don't see a lot of people doing this anymore. I see a lot of just sort of thumbnails that are just basically screen grabs from the video, and there's nothing else. It's just the screen grab. The very sort of low key, minimalist, very, I don't know, down to earth, real. And so it's basically a screen grab. And I see people doing a lot of that now. And I guess that is the current style, but I don't know. I like doing some graphic design with my thumbnails, like having some fun with them and just playing around. That's what I like doing, playing around with tech and being creative. So my thumbnails may not be in style right now, but I like them. And the other thing too, I think my thumbnails do pop pretty well when you see them on the YouTube homepage. But yeah, I struggled with, different things. Like, for example, here's one. This is one of my old style ones with the very contrasty colors. It's almost very gaudy actually when I look at it now, with the red and the yellow, because stand out with the facial expression and stuff. I still do the facial expression stuff because I don't know, it's just fun, I guess, like that. But yeah, so the styles change. And I think when it comes to thumbnails, it's very much, there's a bunch of things you have to sort of consider. You have to consider the feeling you're trying to give across, like I guess they would say your brand, what you're trying to project in terms of your brand, the look and feel, the kind of, yeah, I guess the feel of your content and your style as well. It's so many things you have to encompass in it. And at the same time, you want to also communicate what the video is going to be about. So there's all these different points you have to hit, which makes it tricky, right? And also the thumbnail works in concert with the title. And so it's almost, you have to think thumbnail to title, and hopefully you get the click. So a lot of times you don't want to be redundant with your thumbnail image and your title. You sort of want it to sort of flow as people look at it. It's tricky. It's all, graphic design and messaging and all kinds of stuff. Now, the good thing, what's interesting now with YouTube, I found out, I guess the other day, now I have access to A/B testing for thumbnails and titles. Now, if you don't know what that is, basically you can select, I think it's 3 different titles and 3 different thumbnails, and you enter it when you're uploading your video. It's in your YouTube studio, and you can enter those 3 different titles and 3 different thumbnails, and YouTube will rotate them as it puts it out into the feed, and it'll rotate them and gather data on the click-through rate. So how many people are clicking through to tell you, these things are actually attracting people. And then I think at a certain point, it will just set your thumbnail and title, or it'll tell you which one got the most clicks. And then you can set that as your thumbnail and your title. But yeah, thumbnails is a art. I do not claim to be any good at it. I just kind of, that's what I do. I kind of just say, okay, what is the feeling I'm trying to get across for this video and for my brand? And, I need to telegraph a little bit about what the video is about in a way, and also give it some intrigue so people want to find out more. It's a tricky business. It's a tricky business. I used to be able to move a selected area with the magic wand tool, but not on Pix Pro. Oh, you're talking about Pixelmator Pro? Move a selected area with the magic wand tool. You should be able to move a selection, I would imagine, but not with the magic wand. Do they have a magic wand? I thought they had the magnetic wand. Anyway, they should be able to do that. That seems like something that would be pretty basic. Hey, glad you're back. Thank you, Dr. Durant Sanctum, 1977. Good to see you back. Good to see you back. Thanks for being here. Deb says, I've got A/B testing, but I haven't tried it yet. I'll have to give it a go. Yeah, I tried it on my last video, the Keynote editing video. And I did it just with the title. So you don't have to use thumbnails. You can use 3 different thumbnails if you want to, or you can just use the title. So I just did 3 different titles. And it's funny to watch because I look at in YouTube Studio, it's using my first title. And then if I go to the YouTube homepage, I can see, oh, it's cycling through to the second title. And then I go on my phone and look, and oh, it's using the third title. So you can see the A/B testing in motion. Now, the thing is, the test lasts for like, I think it's days. It'll go through days. It's not like going to do one day and say, okay, this is the winner, and, say this is the winner and pick it. It's going to be a few days of testing, which makes sense, right? You want to do the best you can, but it'll rotate through it automatically. You don't have to do anything, which is very cool. And it's great that feature, is free in YouTube Studio, because to do that before, you had to get you had to subscribe to a service that did that. But now but the thing is, people have been asking for that for years, and they finally they finally rolled it out eventually, but we got there. But yeah, thumbnails is a tricky art. I almost toyed with actually, talking to a consultant about it, to see, give me some pointers on making the thumbnails. But interesting things happen when I talked about branding your thumbnails. And a brand, if you don't know, you know what a brand is, but a lot of a brand is expectation. People expect something, and if it doesn't meet their expectations, they get kind of stressed. Let me just show you an example. Let me go back to my thumbnails. So typically I always put my face in thumbnails because I want people to know, there's a person behind this. This is not AI. That's a whole other issue to talk about. But anyway, I did some experimenting with some thumbnails where I wonder if I have it here, where I didn't put myself in the thumbnail. Let's see if I have it in this file. I have several thumbnail files, and I don't know if it's in this one. No, I don't think so. Yeah. Is it? No. Just going down. Oh, wait. No. Yeah, it's in a different file. Anyway, I did an experiment where I didn't put my face in the thumbnail, and I had a stock image person in the thumbnail. And because if you've seen it, it's the iMovie video on, here are 10 magic tricks you can do in iMovie. And so I thought, okay, it's tricks, it's it's 10 tips you didn't know, it's magic. Hey, let me find someone doing a card trick, thinking, oh, that would be cool. And so I found an image of a stock image of a guy doing a card trick. And I put that on the thumbnail with everything else. And, it got a lot of click-throughs, and this guy didn't look like me. But then I got a comment from somebody, which was interesting. They said, yeah, I, you know, I almost didn't click on this because I didn't see your face, and it threw me, which was interesting. And that's when I talk about expectation with branding and thumbnails. They weren't quite sure to click on it because they didn't see my face. Now, there are other ones I have done where I don't show my face. And a lot of times when I do that, it'll just be, like a voiceover item with me just doing my voiceover. Like the I don't know if it's here either. The iMovie, make your first YouTube video in iMovie. Yeah, I don't think it's here. Where it's just the iMovie, basically it's like this. If I take this as an example, and I'll take myself off of here. So essentially it was just, let me just go over here and show you. So over here, I did one that was very similar to this, where it was just two icons, and that was it. And again, it's hit and miss. It was clicked. I didn't get any comments about it, but I think it was because that particular video was just a voiceover. It wasn't my face in it. I don't know. I always encourage people to play around and see what works. Also, I'm a big believer in what you like too. I mean, sure, don't get me on this whole YouTube advice thing, but yes, data is important, and seeing what works is important. But I think too, you have to make it enjoyable for yourself, right? I think you need to look at it and go, hey, that's a cool thumbnail, right? I mean, that's how I feel. That's how I feel. Because you can get too strategic, and then you feel like, and this has happened to me many times here in the almost 10 years. What is it now? I started on YouTube in 2017, and there's some times when I felt like I was working for the algorithm. I was working for Google, which I guess kind of we are in a way. But I was like, okay, let me adhere to all the advice and the data and everything that everyone says. And I just found myself losing my identity as a creator and losing my brand as a creator. And this just wasn't fun. I came on YouTube to be able to create things and do a bunch of different things. And it's so when you start trying to follow, everybody wants to grow their channel. Of course we do. But when you start following the best practices, you'll find, you'll start losing a bit of your own creativity. And that just wasn't fun for me. So thumbnails is sort of a balancing act. And the beauty of it is, you can change them after the fact, right? I've been making plans to go back and change all those old thumbnail designs and update them. And I could do that. And, maybe get more views on those videos. But that's the beauty too. If you do a thumbnail and it doesn't work, and I've done this before many times, I'll do a title in the thumbnail, release the video, look at the analytics after a couple of days, and if it's like, this doesn't seem to be getting much traction, I'll change the thumbnail, change the title. And so you can do that and see what works. That's the beauty of it. It's the flexibility of it all. You don't have to be, okay, this is it, and I'm stuck with this. Not at all. Not at all. Jack says, you are your brand. Yes. Yeah, your point of view, the way you look at the world, the way you express things is your brand. And it's not like, oh, we've got to do this, deep investigation and research and market research into what is your brand. I mean, you could, I guess, and a lot of people do that, but it's being, I guess, confident enough just to be yourself. That's your brand. And also, again, making it enjoyable for you, because it's not going to be sustainable if it's not enjoyable for you. And that's what happens to me periodically. I go, okay, I want to grow this channel. And as I mentioned before, I start, let me do the best practices. And then it's like, wait a second, this is not me. and I get discouraged, and I think to myself, oh, is this the only way I can grow the channel and be successful, is being like everybody else who follows the usual YouTube advice? You know what? I'm willing to take the risk of being myself and having fun and talking about things that I enjoy talking about. And if it's not the most optimized or whatever, it's fine. I'll give that away in order to enjoy what I'm doing, right? So that's the decision I made. Now other people are like gung ho, and they're like, I just want to grow this channel, make money, do all the things, and they will devote themselves to following all the latest advice and everything, and that's fine. That's fine. But every creator is here on the platform, I think, for different reasons. Some people, we all want to be successful to a certain point, but some people, that's all they want to do, and they'll do whatever it takes to do it. For me personally, there's things I like talking about. I like talking about how amazing, the free software, iMovie, Keynote, all this other stuff is. And I talk about this stuff when I'm not on YouTube, and I nerd out about this stuff all the time. And so I figured, hey, let me just share that with other folks, and maybe they'll find some use of, in it, whether it is just to talk about it or to actually use it to make things. And that's basically my why, Yes. So true. Yes, it is. And we go back and forth I go back and forth on this all the time, every few months. And at a certain point, it's kind of like, now I'm just doing what I enjoy, and I enjoy sharing. I find out new things that I think are cool, and I share it here on YouTube. That's what I do. That's it. Doesn't take a big focus group to figure that out. I agree. Be yourself and enjoy what you're doing. Yes, because I think it's important. People pick up on that, right? I know I do. I can tell if someone's genuinely, passionate about what they're talking about and what they're doing. And then that passion is kind of, infectious. You feel the passion and the excitement. But if someone feels like they're just sort of like, painting by numbers and just sort of plodding through it, that's not fun to watch either. And then I get people saying, well, Mike, if it's just educational, I'm just here to get the answer, as quickly as possible, to do whatever I need to do. Agreed. Yes. I don't want all this personality and stuff and, entertainment stuff. I just want to find out how to do this thing, in DaVinci or Final Cut or iMovie. Yes. However, if the video doesn't compel you and engage you, you won't stick around to learn the thing. And learning the thing will become a chore, right? So you do need a little bit of human quality, interaction, in order just to communicate. Because first and foremost, when it comes to teaching people things, and a lot of people don't understand this, you can be an expert in the topic that you're in, and that's great. But in my opinion, educating or teaching is first and foremost a communications exercise. If you can't capture an audience, engage them, compel their attention, they're not gonna be receptive to anything you're gonna say after that. So you have to keep that in mind too. So passion and enthusiasm is a huge part of that. We're social animals. If we see people, passionate, enthusiastic about something, we want to know, wow, why are they excited? Likewise, if you see people scared and frantic and panicking, you want to know why they scared and frantic and panicking. It's just human nature. Human nature. All right, back to more technical stuff here with Jack. Do you think Mac will create an AI OS one day? It's funny, Jack. I was just thinking about that, this whole AI thing. And it's remarkable that a company like Apple is so behind in the AI space. But then I thought to myself, and the last couple of days, people have been talking about a possible AI bubble that's forming. So if you're not familiar with that, I don't know if you're old enough to remember. I am. The .com bubble in the late 90s, early 2000s. That's when it was all around e-commerce. All these e-commerce companies, .coms, pets.com, this.com, and investors were throwing all kinds of money into these startups, these websites, with the promise that, oh, they're going to be making lots of money and we're all going to be rich. And then the rubber hit the road, and all these different companies had to admit to all their investors that they had no viable business plan. They weren't making any money. They were spending all the money that they were getting from investors on marketing, but their business plan wasn't viable. They weren't making profit, hence no return to investors. And the bubble burst. I mean, this is a simplified version of it, but the bubble burst. All the investors took their money, and all the companies, all these different startup companies just died. And I think after the dust settled, I think the two major companies that survived were Amazon.com and eBay. But there was a big bubble, right? Because there was all this hype and promise. Well, people are talking, and I agree, that AI is in a similar situation right now. There's a lot of hype, a lot of promise, but the business models, people aren't really making a lot of profit. OpenAI, I think they make $20 billion a year right now, which sounds like a lot of money. But the money they're spending investment in things like data centers and chips and hardware far exceeds that. And the thinking is, well, we'll be profitable one day when this all becomes huge and AI is everywhere, and we'll charge people, I don't know, $100 a month to use ChatGPT. I don't know what their business plan is. But it hasn't happened yet. And think about it. ChatGPT came out in 2022. So it's been around for a bit. And I ask you this, has AI been fundamentally transformative in our lives yet? I would say no, personally, right now. So getting back to your statement there, Jack, I think the reason Apple isn't farther ahead in the AI game is I think they're actually sitting back and waiting to see what happens. And that is kind of an Apple thing. And if anything, they're probably going to license an AI model from somebody rather than invest money in it. Because I think they're kind of like, well, I don't know, this AI thing is if it's going to be around, especially after they kind of got burned with their Apple Vision VR glasses. Like the adoption rate of that was disappointing, and now I think they're abandoning it and going to look at AR glasses. So I don't know. That's my theory. That's what I think. It's hard for me to believe that Apple doesn't have engineers smart enough to create an AI or a model. I'm sure they can, but I think they're kind of waiting to see what happens. Welcome back, Radman53. Good to be back. Thanks for being here. Yeah, AI how many people here, put a 1 in the chat if you've heard of or played around with Sora 2, which is from OpenAI, which is a generative video model. I think it just came out in the last couple of weeks. So you can give it prompts and it'll create videos. Jack says, yes, he has. I saw some demos of it, and I have to say it's kind of scary. And it's not even like scary in a good way. It's I don't know, it's kind of disturbing now. It's getting to the point where it's not even like, oh, cool, that's amazing. It's kind of like, something's not right about this this video I'm looking at, this image, something in my brain, the back of my lizard brain is saying, something's not right about this. And it's a little unsettling, a lot of the stuff. Now, having said that, I used AI extensively for a project over the summer that I worked on, where I was doing it was a historical piece. And so I needed some images, and, I had two choices. Originally, I was going to create them in 3D software, because I do a little bit of that on the side. But I thought, okay, that's going to take a while. So let me use Chat GPT to create images, which you can do. And so I did it, but I tell you, and for the most part, it was okay. I mean, they were fairly decent. But the time it took, I realized afterwards I should have just did it in 3D myself, because the time it took in prompting to get the images that I wanted was way longer than I thought. And the reason is a lot of times when we look at generative AI examples, people are using it to make a single image or a video, whatever. But if you want to use it to make a series, right? Say you want to use it to make an animation or something that uses the images, more than once. So in my case, I was telling a story, and so I had all these different sort of situations that I had these characters in, and I needed to generate an image, several images of the same characters, but in different situations in different locations. Wow. It was tricky. To keep the consistency in the characters was really tricky. I had to keep reminding and uploading images to the AI to remind it that this is what they look like. Because every image, the look would drift. It would start drifting. The characters started looking different. I ran into that situation where all of a sudden the character had like 3 arms. It's like, where's that arm coming from? And I would, and in this particular topic, I was talking about grave robbing. So, I had I was doing images of coffins and things. And then in one point, I was doing a scene where it was a court scene. So there was a person on trial in the court. And so I, gave it the prompt and everything. And I even asked Chat GPT what the best prompt was, which is a trick you can use to get the image you want. And I had this detailed prompt, and it was there. Everything was all the details, the time, the style, all that stuff. And then we generated the image. And there's a coffin in the middle of it. I'm like, what's this doing here? And so in ChatGPT, what you can do is when you get an image, you can go in and edit it, and you can select something in the image that you want to remove or change. So I said, okay, I selected the coffin and said, okay, I don't want this, get rid of it. Generate again. It's there again in the background. It was stuck. It's like, oh, he's doing this story about bodies and coffins. And so, it just got stuck on the coffin thing, and it started just showing up everywhere. Even when I said, don't stop. And then I would have to re-upload stuff. Anyway, I'm not a prompting engineer, obviously. But wow, it was a lot of work. I mean, I got it done, but I did have to compromise sometimes. I didn't have the control that I'm used to when I'm working with other, tools that I have control over. So it was a lot of prompting. It was a lot of prompting back and forth. So yeah, AI is, the promise of generative AI. It's great if you want to just generate a random thing. But if you have like a vision and you have certain specifications and you're trying to do something, it's more work than you think. It's more work than you think. Jack says, I look at AI as a tool, and in combination with graphic or video software, it saves a lot of time. Yeah, exactly. Very much so. It is a tool to generate things like I said, if it's stuff that another piece, I had to generate a scene with aliens in it. It's like, well, okay, I could go make that too, but it did a great job. And why? Because it was one image. I didn't have to make a whole series of images of these aliens. It was one. It was like great. So yeah, as a tool, it comes in handy sometimes. But I think when you start to use it for actual projects and have to lean on it like you would use other tools, you start to see the drawbacks of it. And I did, even with just text stuff too, writing, scripts and stories and stuff like that. It can get, I found myself having to edit the stuff and correct it more. It's like, this is more work than me just doing it. And the other thing I realized, and this is serious though, when it comes to Chat GPT, when you're doing information stuff, like factual stuff, it makes stuff up. It makes things up. I was doing another story and I was doing research, and it was a story about this unfortunate story about this woman who was killed and put in a barrel. And for like 30 years under someone's crawl space. It's horrible. But anyway, so I was doing research on it, and Chat GPT said, oh yes, this barrel, it was a plastic barrel and da da da. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know how common, I mean, I'm not that old, but I don't know how common plastic barrels were in the 60s. So I said, are you sure? You sure that it was a plastic barrel? Yes, it was a plastic barrel. So I did a plain old, good old fashioned Google search and discovered, no, it was a metal barrel. I'm like, holy crap, man. You can't do that to me. So what ended up happening is I had to prompt it. And as part of the prompting, I had to say, use credible sources for your information. And so then when it returned its results, it would show like the sources that it used. So I had to like, I'm fact checking Chat GPT. It's like, I should have just, if I just did the Google search, like good old fashioned Google search from back in the day, I wouldn't have this issue. And at one point it did something, information, and then I said, this is not correct. And it said, yeah, I'm sorry. I was hallucinating. And it admitted it. It said it. It admitted that it was hallucinating. I lost confidence. So, I don't know. It's not, I don't think it's quite, I mean, for me personally, as a creative tool, for bits and odds and bits and things like that, it's great. But once you start getting into like the real deep stuff, you have to just be cautious and be wary. Just have to consider copyright concerns when it comes to music. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's a whole thing. I played with that one that does music, where you can give it like a prompt and it'll make a song. It was interesting. I mean, fun, I guess. And I think a lot of this generative AI stuff, to me, is still kind of like a toy, a novelty. Yeah, it can save time in some things. And I thought it was going to save me tons of time. And it's funny, when you're working with it, you get into sort of this weird relationship, and it's almost like it's selling itself on you, and you start to bond. And then, it's a weird thing. But then when you step back, you go, wait a second, this is not what I wanted to do. That's another thing I had to do. Oh man, I'm just thinking back to all the stuff I had to do with working with it. Because it really wants to help you a lot. And what it'll do, it'll get fixated on something. So if you're going a certain creative direction, it'll help you. And then when you try to pivot, you have to like clear it, like clear its memory and say, okay, forget about that stuff. We're going this direction. And I found it very difficult to sort of get it back on board, because it would still use, it would still be suggesting things from the old idea. Yeah, that was an interesting thing. So I don't use it as extensively as I did before, because I was really into it over the summer. I was like spending hours with it, and it was like, I was like, wow, this is great. And then I stood back and went, wait a second. This is not at all what I was trying to do, or this took way too long to do. Sort of came to my senses a little bit. Anyway, AI. Maybe I'll do a whole stream on working with AI, generative AI. I don't know. It's like I said, it's been since 2022. We're 2025, and the big, I don't know what the big promise, but the big promise for me, it doesn't seem to have happened yet. So yeah. Yeah. So anybody else using like Chat GPT or any other generative AI models out there for doing anything, either if it's images or if it's video or even if it's for text stuff? Let me know in the chat what you've been using. Be curious to know, because I'm curious to know how how many people are actually adopting this technology, really. Like, you're using it occasionally, you're using it every day. Yeah, so yes, Chiefs fan 1969, short form content only. Yeah. Yeah, for shorts and stuff like that, it works. And that's the other thing, right? Once you start getting to a certain length, it starts to lose it. And there's services, I can't remember the name of the service, but it's an online service that is, you can make a video all from AI, including the voiceover, and it'll find stock footage and everything, write the thing for you. And they even say it's great for videos that are, no longer than 3 minutes or 2 minutes, not even like a minute. But once you start getting out there, it starts to lose it, right? It starts to, and that's what I found. It's weird. It just, I don't know what it is. I mean, I don't know how these models work like intricately, but I just find that once you start getting past a certain point, it starts to degrade, at least what you're asking for. Yeah. I use it a lot in creating shorts. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I used it for shorts, for just imagery again. And it worked great for that. It worked great for that because it's kind of like one-off pictures, right? I didn't have like, okay, characters that had to be consistent throughout a bunch of images. It was like one image, boom, fine, right? It worked great. But once you start having to do consistency, it's just laborious. AI is great for concept development and animation development. If you have design skills, you can polish it up, but it has its limits. Yeah. Yeah, and there's ways to make it consistent, and that's what. But it just took more work. I had to keep reminding it, and so once I had like the images that I liked, I had to have those standing by, and every time it started to drift, I had to upload, and thankfully you can do that. Upload the image and say, okay, no, I want it based on this image, and then it would do it. But then I'd have to do it again. So I had to constantly remind it. Because I guess as part of the model, when it generates the image, there's obviously a certain amount of randomness involved when it does it. And so it may be pulling from different sources and different, parts of its learning. I don't know. I'm just speculating here, but I had to just constantly be reminding it what to do. And it just started getting to be, a pain. It just started taking a lot of time, and it was just very repetitive. And I thought to myself, why is this is a lot of work. I thought this was going to be faster. And then it turned out to be, more work. And then of course you run into the issue where, cause you're feeding these prompts to a server and it's going up and it's doing its thing. And sometimes it would just cack out because there's just so many people accessing the server. And then of course you would run out of tokens, which means, ability to talk to the server. And it would say, well, come back later. So, there's that, the technical things that, so it wasn't bulletproof. But I have to say, like, yes, when I had to generate images or content that, I couldn't find stock footage for or anything like that, it was great. But it still took work to get it to where I wanted to be. And then again, the extra hurdle of consistency was what made it tricky. Made it tricky. All right, so there's a third thing I want to talk about, and let me know in the chat if you are aware or you've heard of the new release from Adobe. They just released in the last, I guess, week or so, Premiere Pro for iPhone. So now you can get Premiere Pro. Well, it's not exactly the same one as a desktop, but it's got a lot of the features on your phone for iPhone, which is very cool. I don't know if anybody has seen it. This is the Adobe page with their little demo here. And you can see it's kind of aimed at social video, vertical video, but you can do landscape horizontal with it as well. I'm going to be coming out later, probably either tomorrow or the weekend. I'm going to do a review, not extensive review, more my take on Adobe Premiere Pro on the iPhone. I kind of took it for a bit of a spin, and I'm going to share what I like about it and what needs work, what still needs work. But overall, though, it's pretty good, and it's free. Now, there are some features in it that require a subscription, and those are the generative AI features. But you can do all kinds of stuff with it, and I think the biggest thing for me that is huge is unlimited tracks. Unlimited tracks of audio and video. That's huge. That's the thing people in iMovie have been asking for, both on the desktop and on the phone. So now you can get unlimited tracks on the phone in Premiere Pro. It's pretty cool. And it does, it's got a lot of the same features. You can do, obviously it's got, the trimming and the editing is very similar to, iOS type trimming and editing. You can shoot, you can record, you can import your footage from your phone, your photo library, or what I like about it too, you can import it from your files, which is great because that is connected to iCloud. So if you have reoccurring elements in iCloud, you can bring them in. Yeah, so now the generative stuff here, this requires an Adobe, I think it's the Firefly subscription for their AI, generative AI. And there's some other things that require a subscription. Audio is pretty extensive, though you'll see in my little review, there's some issues with it. For me, as being an editor, that I wish, that some things that are missing. And if you're using Adobe Premiere on the desktop, you can transfer your project from the phone to the desktop. Obviously, you have to have the Adobe subscription, and it'll just upload to your account, I guess. I don't have that. But anyway, it's very interesting, and I think for vertical video on the iPhone, I think they're trying to make it the CapCut killer, I guess we'll call it. It's pretty good. And it's got a lot of features that I'm like, okay, this is kind of a lot for a mobile editor, like the effects. They've got really fine-grained control of effects. And you can do all kinds of color stuff, like with color timing and color correction and things like that. But it's all on the iPhone. It's great. But like I said, there's things I like about it, and then there's some things that I maybe it'll come up in the next version of it. But yeah, let's see, who's heard of it? Wow, no, I haven't. iMovie is on iPhone, of course. Yes. Yes, it is. Yeah, and I did a video. I've done a couple videos on making vertical video with um, on iMovie on the desktop, and then iMovie on the phone. And the one on the phone is really just it's just, it's a workarounds because it doesn't have native vertical video, which I don't understand this day. If you want native vertical video, you have to use clips. And I don't know why they don't take clips and its features and just put it into iMovie on the iPhone, iOS, and just call it a day and give us vertical video. The other great thing about Adobe too, and I think this is for me is like the sweet part of the deal, is free automatic captioning. So it'll go through your video and it'll transcribe it and turn it into captions. And then you can edit the captions. This is just titles. This is titles. This is not the captions. But you can do, it does auto captions. If it says anything down here. Built for speed. I don't think so. But you can generate sound effects, though I think that's a generative AI-ish feature that requires a subscription. Doesn't say here, but you can do automatic captioning, which is great. And you can format the captions and change colors and stuff like that. So free captioning and unlimited tracks, those two things alone for me is like, okay, let me take a look at this. Let me take a look at this. So yeah, like I said, I'll be coming out with a more detailed review or my take, I guess. Yes, exactly. Seems this is Adobe's answer to CapCut. Yes, finally. What took so long? Well, they actually had software before this. I forget what it's called. Starts with an R. I can't remember. Anyway, they're discontinuing that software and having Premiere Pro on mobile replace it. So they did have a software, but I guess they figured let's lean into the Premiere brand and reputation and just make a version of that. Can you put several layers of sound or video on it? Yes. Unlimited tracks. Yeah. You can have unlimited track, though, it starts getting a little crazy on the phone screen when you have like 10 tracks of video, which I tried. It gets a little hairy. But yeah, you can have all kinds of tracks and audio too. So you can have, you can music, you can have sound effects, you can have the sync sound of your video, you can do voiceover in it as well. So yeah, all the things you would expect. It's not quite, I know they call it Premiere Pro, but it's not quite pro. It doesn't have all the pro stuff that I would expect, but it's good. Hey, Open Air Outdoors, thanks for being here. Is it on an iPad as well? I do not know that. I don't think so. I think right now, I'm sure it will be. But right now it's just for the phone. And like I said, looking at the promo materials, this seems to be squarely aimed at, people making shorts, TikToks, reels, vertical video stuff on their phones. But it's good. It's good to see finally. It's been a while. And now we're waiting for Apple to do the same thing. Oh, sorry I'm late. Hey, no problem. Thanks for being here. No need to apologize. We're just hanging out, talking about cool stuff. Hello to you. Thank you for the video on Keynote for Video Tool. I like your work. Thank you. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Honestly, I'll tell you, I wasn't sure about that one when I released it. When I was working on it, I thought, okay, this is cool, but I don't know, is this going to be too kind of esoteric for people? And is this too long? And I was going through all this stuff. But I released it and put it together, and it's got a great response, which is, obviously heartening for me. But I'm glad that, it it resonated with folks. Big problems of this tool is the price for me. Which tool are you talking about? That's the price. Yeah, so anyway, getting back to Premiere Pro, free, unlimited tracks, and auto captioning. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to do my video or release my video in the next couple days, and should be good. But it's nice to have a tool to do, proper editing. And I just wish Apple had something comparable. And I just don't understand sometimes, and they can't use the excuse now of, well, we don't want to cannibalize our other products like Final Cut Pro, because I mean, this is Adobe with Premiere Pro on the iPhone, doing vertical video. Like, come on, what are you waiting for? And I make these videos and show you all the workarounds to edit vertical video, and inevitably all the comments are, "Why is Apple? This should be on this natively. Why?" And I'm like, "Yep, it should be, but it's not. So here's the workaround for it for now, and hopefully they come out with a way to do it." Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Oh, for Premiere Pro. Yeah. Well, yeah, for the desktop version, you need, you got to get the subscription. But this is free. The one for the iPhone, Premiere Pro, is free. It's free. You don't have to pay for it. I mean, there's some features that you do require a subscription, but they're not super major. There's just some AI features, some generative features, generate an image, generate a background, that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I mean, I guess a lot of people use that, but usually you're just going to hold your phone, talk for a bit, and just edit it together, slap on maybe a title or two, maybe some captions, some audio, some music. Oh yeah, it also has music. It has a music library. The Premiere Pro gives you access to a free music library. Again, it doesn't say it here. I guess maybe in this audio and sound section. Yeah. But yeah, you get free music with it too, which is kind of cool. Yes. I reference back to your videos when I forget to do stuff on iMovie. Thanks. Cool. There's, I have so many more iMovie video ideas to come. Next, just looking forward to some more videos ahead. I mentioned I'm going to do the Premiere Pro one, which is going to come out in the next day or two. I'm also working on one, which is interesting to me. It may not be interesting to you. I don't know. But I'm going to be talking about taking iMovie projects and transferring them to Final Cut Pro. Because there's that ability, I don't know if you're aware, that you can import iMovie libraries into Final Cut Pro. And you might be saying, why would you want to do that? Well, a lot of people actually edit faster in iMovie, like to do the first cut or the what we call the rough cut of a video, because the tools are so simple, the interface is so clean. You can concentrate on the editing part. So they'll do the editing part, the rough cut, in iMovie. Then they'll transfer that over to Final Cut Pro to do all the effects and the fancy stuff and the color grading and maybe some sound editing and effects and things like that. So you can import the iMovie library into Final Cut Pro. And so I'm going to be doing that tutorial on that. That's going to be the next sort of tutorial video that comes out. But what's interesting for me for that, which is great, but what's interesting I discovered is iMovie has all its different effects, clip filters, audio ducking. It's got all its stuff, right? It's different transitions and things. Now, when you bring that into Final Cut Pro, I discovered it. It's two different ecosystems. So all the effects from iMovie do transfer over to Final Cut Pro, but they're different things in Final Cut Pro, I discovered. So, for example, a clip filter in iMovie, it's like, cool. That goes over to Final Cut Pro. You have to go find it in like effects, and it's in all these different spots. So if you're a Final Cut Pro editor, or even someone who edits in Final Cut Pro and you want to edit iMovie projects that have effects and things, you're going to need to know where to look for those effects if you need to adjust them. So that's going to be part of the tutorial. Let me know in the chat if you're interested in that. Transferring iMovie projects to Final Cut Pro. Give me a 1 in the chat. I mean, I'm going to do it anyway, but I just want to gauge the interest of it, because it's just fascinating. And it's a good little feature to have, especially if you've been editing in iMovie. And I know a lot of people who did a lot of projects in iMovie and then they graduated to Final Cut Pro. And if you want to upgrade those projects that you did in iMovie or add some things, this, be valuable information to have, I think. Can you share your vision of AI application in Apple Tool? Oh, you mean what I think about AI, like AI in Apple, like Apple Intelligence, and what's that about, and where is it? Let me know. Let me know in the chat. Peluche 210. Yes, almost retired abroad. Yes, you would like to know. And yes, you'd like to know. Yeah, it's a fascinating. I found it to be a fascinating exercise. So I'll be talking about that, because I've been getting comments from people who want more. I mean, they love the iMovie stuff and the Keynote stuff and all that stuff, but they'd like to see some Final Cut Pro stuff and some DaVinci Resolve stuff, which I've done a little bit of. So I'm trying to expand out into those different softwares, but in a way that's still kind of grounded in what we do here on the channel, because there's plenty of other channels that do DaVinci Resolve tutorials and Final Cut Pro tutorials that are excellent. But I'm constantly thinking of a way to make it relevant to my audience, and so it's an ongoing thing. Sorry for my English. AI in Final Cut Pro is workable and interesting. Oh, in Final Cut Pro, yeah. I'm French. My wife is actually French. Fun fact. Well, she's bilingual, but her mother is French, Quebecois French. Anyway, Final Cut Pro AI. If you've used, and I've used DaVinci Resolve Studio extensively this past summer, like really heavy, very involved projects with lots of effects and layers and things. And the AI tools in DaVinci Resolve Studio are just amazing. Like, they're real time savers. They're not just toys. They actually do save a lot of time. Things like the AI audio assistant in particular was very valuable to me, but there's a whole bunch of other things too. And the AI in DaVinci Resolve Studio is thoughtful. Like, they thought about editors and the workflow, and they really designed those AI features, around that. Final Cut Pro AI just seems to be behind, and it's just not as impressive. I mean, they came out with the masking, which is great, finally, but it's just, I don't know what it is. I mean, maybe it's just they don't have the expertise in house, but they just seem to be behind when it comes to the AI implementations. Hey, hi, thanks for this chat. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, so Final Cut, I don't know what's going on. Um, yeah, the Final Cut Pro AI features, like for example, take auto captioning for example. Premiere Pro transcribing. I know Premiere Pro is paid, but so is Final Cut Pro. Auto transcribing and captioning has been around for years in Premiere Pro natively. It's in DaVinci Resolve Studio because you need the AI for that, which is paid. It just started. It just started in one of the last versions of Final Cut Pro, and even still, that version, their implementation of it is still not the best. I'm sure they'll improve it, but I just don't understand why they're so behind. But anyway, you know, we make it work. But it's nice that you don't have to go finally to a third-party application just to, you know, put some titles on your social media videos, some subtitles or captions. But it's just a long time coming. A long time coming. Let me do an impromptu with the folks here, an impromptu little survey, I guess, about vertical video. Because it's funny, on my channel, my top performing video is on vertical video editing in iMovie. It's like 500,000 views. It's crazy. But yet when I talk about vertical video in chats and stuff like that, or even in live streams, there's a bit of a backlash. People are like, oh no, that's, you know, we don't like that, and shorts, boo, and all this stuff. So let me ask you right now, in the chat, how many of you are interested in vertical video? It doesn't have to be just for TikTok or for shorts, but in vertical video production in general. Let me know in the chat. Just show me a number 1 in the chat if you're interested in that. Because my data says one thing, and then my informal my informal research says something else. So I'm just trying to like reconcile the two things. Yes, of course, Chiefs fan 1969. Yes, because you do shorts and you use AI. If anybody else is interested in vertical video, because I have some ideas for some vertical video videos and tutorials, and I continue to do them, but it's just weird when I look at the analytics. But let me know. Just show me a 1 in the chat. And let me see. Make vertical to supplement my long form. Yeah, exactly. You know, vertical video is interesting to make. I put vertical video in the good to know category because it's trending, but I rarely create them. Yeah, you know, it's interesting. Making vertical video is not, making good vertical video is not as easy as, you know, they'd all, you know, Google and everybody else would make it seem like, because it does take actually more strategy, more thinking, because you have not only a limited area visually, you're also up on a time constraint as well. And to sort of communicate effectively, you know, an idea or a thought or whatever, a moment in those limited spaces is challenging. Now they say, well, you can do up to 3 minutes. Now, yeah, no one's watching 3 minutes vertical video shorts. Few people will. So you have to be very strategic when you're making them, I find. And I find sometimes they're more challenging than making a long form video in some cases. Yes, you'd like to know. That's what I do as well. My goal is 1 long and 2 to 3 vertical each week. Yeah. Yeah, and but they're fun to make. And I found in the project I was working on this summer, I made a few shorts, and they were fun. But again, it depends too, like so many things, on your subject matter. Because some subject matter lends itself more easily to shorts than others. And in some cases, you can be actually cannibalizing views from your long form using your shorts. And the long form videos, if you're monetized, is where you make the real money. Shorts, you make pennies. And that's the problem. You'll look at your analytics and go, wow, this short I made, I got 30,000 views or whatever. And then you look how much that's like, 10 cents, whatever. Yeah, it's that low. It's crazy. Where that on a long form, you would make dollars. So that's the only thing I don't, I'm not a fan of shorts, and so you got to be strategic with it, because you will get more exposure with shorts just by the nature of it and its shorts feed. And I think it's a great way to sort of market your long form channel or your long form content. But you got to be careful how you use it. And rarely, in my experience, do short form viewers turn into long form viewers. That's the other reality that they don't tell you about. So there you go. That's a whole other discussion. Maybe that's another live stream talking about making shorts, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. Yeah. So I'm going to wrap things up now. Got through a lot of stuff today, actually. The different things we talked about. Premiere Pro. We talked about Keynote, little demo of Keynote, and my little behind the scenes of my thumbnails. So that was a lot. That was actually a lot. I didn't intend to do all that content, but there you go. There you go. So look for the next day or two. Be on the lookout for my take, review, reaction to Premiere Pro for iPhone, and other stuff, I guess, will be coming down the pipe or pike. I can't remember which one it is. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. And listen, I'm always looking for ideas for content. So be sure to share anything you're interested in. Put it in the chat of this live stream playback or recording, because this will be up on my channel, the recording of this. And if anything hits you based on this or anything else, leave it in the chat. Thanks, Mike. That was great as usual. Looking forward to the Keynote thumbnail tutorial. Yes, everyone wants that one. Vertical videos can be a good way to recycle long. Yes, horizontal. And I have a few videos on recycling your horizontal into vertical using iMovie as well on the channel. I've covered vertical video, I think, from so many angles. But there's more to come. So thank you all for being here. And thanks for taking the time out of your busy day to join me for this chat. And next week, we'll have another live stream. And I'll promote it a little earlier this time. I was a little late with the promotion this week. But we'll be doing it again. So again, thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.